People buying stuff and they're going, okay, well, I want to get a little extra because, yeah, which is smart. The post office is having the hardest time getting products delivered. So sometimes it's taken a week or 2 weeks to get your stuff where it used to take a few days. So be patient for those of you that are going to order. Be patient that our products are awesome, they're great, and we do fill them immediately. In fact, more immediately because we know the post office is slacking. And why? I don't know. I don't know why they're doing that, but they are. So it's very hard. And then, of course, we have Bitcoin, which is really interesting because the cryptocurrency is the safe haven for your money, and that is very volatile right now. So, stock market's volatile. This Bitcoin's volatile. Silver and gold usually do really well, but they took a dive the other day. So basically, money is getting weird. It's like, where do we put our money? Real estate, oh, it's booming right now, but really, and people don't realize this, the booming real estate is actually this first sign that we are about ready to hit something very terrible. Because the real estate, when you have overbidding going on and there's not enough stuff on the market, things go crazy. And the next thing's going to happen is everybody's going to come out of forbearance. People are going to come out and they're going to go, my gosh, I can't make my house payments. And right now it's 2 to 3 million people are behind in their house payments and their rent.
Wow. And that is true. And that's the scary part that we're heading into 2021, because we still have areas of the country implementing lockdown, regardless of the fact of their vaccine. We were all told, oh, these are going to stop when we get vaccines. But of course, like everything else, they're ongoing and continual. And like you said, we have our businesses out. We have tons of businesses here in the U.S. that are never coming back, that were highly impacted. Meanwhile, we have billionaires like Jeff Bezos. We have Mark Zuckerberg and your Larry Page and your Google people making billions of more money off of this pandemic, right?
Let's not forget Bill Gates.
Yeah, and Bill Gates, he's included in that. He's one of the ones that have made millions and billions, if you will, as a result of what's going on with this pandemic. And so as we enter the year, I think you said a lot of good points here. You said, that we need to start stocking up. From the way that I read it, because like with our food supply, you mentioned rationing. I don't put it behind us that could possibly happen in the U.S. And God, I pray and hope not. I don't want that here in the U.S. That's why I tell everybody get prepared and have stuff on hand. And not only with food, because a lot of those, you've got food storage, they have nutrients, but you really need to add nutrients on top of it, which is why I tell people, they can go to Get the Tea like you have now. You've got the Coral Sea. You've actually got a package with this stuff here, and I've got it here, kind of like the whole package you guys can see here. And he's got a special on this, but to get vitamins and supplements and nutrients in your body and have that, because you can store your vitamins, right? How long can you store those for?
Well, it said 2 years. That's the whole FDA thing. But I have tea bags that just testing that are 20 plus years old, and they're still good to go. And as long as they're in a sealed package. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know about hoarding, 2 years worth of product and all that. That might be a little crazy, but I really do think you need to have, anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of product, because you don't know the availability. Like my manufacturers are having a hard time getting product. And so that makes it hard. There's a huge demand right now. And it's all about price goes between supply and demand. And I don't raise my prices. In fact, if anything, I put things on sale so people can get products, because money's tight right now. And we have a very uncertain economy right now. We have uncertain politics. We have uncertain, like, what is next? That's what, and it was funny because when I had my radio show years ago, I talked about this very thing 10, 15 years ago. And here we are. So this is, people go, is 2008, is that whole time zone coming back? But the fact of the matter is, I have a feeling this is going to be worse than 2008, because 2008 was just a real estate bubble. And this also has commercial involved. I mean, businesses are gone. And what are they filling up? What a new business is going to come in and go down all the restrictions and everything else, and only can be open one day and have to have 20-foot distancing. And I mean, good luck with that. You're not going to help build a business that way. So we are in some strange times, But at the end of this broadcast, I think it would be cool. We'll have some positive too. I've got a real good positive hit. So, but long and the short of it, I mean, it's how we think as well. I mean, we can sit here and go, it's doomsday, or we can say, you know what, there's a mountain to climb. Let's get on it.
Yeah, and on top of it, I mean, I get it. We do need hope in the midst of everything that's going on. That's an absolute. And I think we all need that, because we constantly hear on the mainstream media, fear, 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 fear. You're going to die. You're going to get COVID. You're going to I mean, even though, you got the survival rate on COVID is really high. But that said, it's still not to downplay everything that's going on. But the truth of the matter is we're really going into uncharted waters and places that I don't think America has been before. And one of the things that I see is the censorship of one political side. Conservatives are being shut down. If you're somewhat right of the center, you're a Republican, you're far right wing extremist. You don't even have to be, you don't even have to be a real right winger. You can just be a Republican and you're automatically labeled as such. And this is a new society that we're heading into. And what I see is a great divide. I see the government pushing division rather than unity. And they might speak of unity, but then they do the opposite of that, right? Doing things and putting limits to one side that they're not enforcing on the other. And there's this real inequality in our country. It's just outrageous. And I see them also pitting classes of people against each other, which really reminds me of what happened under Lenin. He had class warfare under Lenin. And I think today it's a similar tactic, but unfortunately it's race warfare that they're really pushing, at least here in the US. So
and there's name calling too, because, like I get offended that they call me a Trumper. So does that mean there's a harasser? Is there a harasser there too? Are you a harasser? And when it's like, do we just take Camilla Harris and just, oh, she's a harasser. And this is where you get put into this bowl. And it's not that I don't stand up for the president. That's not where I'm at. But the name calling gets to where they include everyone, like you were saying. They don't say, hey, the Republicans did this. They don't even talk like that now. It's only the Trumpers, so they can make us whacked. And we had this clear back on the days when I used to talk about UFOs. They would basically, if you talked about any kind of ET or extraterrestrial, you were wearing a tinfoil hat and you're losing your mind. They're doing the same thing with what we call the Trumpers. They're basically making us look like we're just wacko. Because why? Because we want to stand in for what's right. So it's crazy. I mean, I've never seen the like.
No, and that's what they're doing, 100%. Like, I've been called a Trumpophile. Oh, you must be a Trumpophile because I was in a store once and a lady confronted me because I wasn't wearing a mask. I'm like, really? Since when did the mask issue become political? But we know it's political anyway. But it's just all of that, and I have really, I take offense to that. Like you're saying, that's really rude. I support the president, and somehow that's bad. And right. or I'm a conservative or I'm a libertarian and somehow that's bad, but that's literally the label. And I had friends this week, in fact, that we had a whole conversation, and basically they were happy that the president got removed from multiple platforms. And I tried to explain, well, what about what Maxine Waters has done, calling for Trump people to be removed from businesses, and AOC calling us to be listed on lists, like literal lists, so employers can deny you jobs. And I said, somehow that's okay and acceptable. And they really thought, yeah, that's acceptable. And then they went on to talk about how I'm white privilege, and they put the America with 2 Ks. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. That was offensive. And in my opinion, that's wrong. Okay, you have no right to sit here and say you're white privilege. I said, and I went on to say, look, I was poor, I was broke, I grew up in a single wide trailer. I was a really poor girl. I had to go to food banks to survive. I had police brutality happen to me. Don't tell me where the heck is my privilege. I applied for scholarships and jobs, being a really poor girl, not having the money. I got denied them because I wasn't a minority. So it's just that kind of stuff that really is, it's just ludicrous and absurd. And in my opinion, that's very offensive to anyone. And that's terrifying where we are headed. So obviously, I think the globalist or leftists got their way. And I think they really wanted that division. And it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that many people listening out there are losing friends over this as well.
Well, in the New World Order, which is really what's going on, this is not about Republicans and Democrats. This is about New World Order, and this includes China, because China has basically bought some of our Republicans. They've definitely bought the Democrats, and this is all about a takeover, a massive takeover. So, what I would call communism. This is not socialist. Let's ramp this up the right way. This is not socialist at all. This is tyranny. This is basically we're going to see communism, and we're going to see it quickly. This is not going to be hanging out and maybe, it's coming. But the key is we've got to be as positive as we can, because our thoughts change things, and we really need to be looking forward to the positive. And let me throw this. It's time for the positive for a second. So when we look at things, we see that if we watch any of the news that's allowed to be on, because it's all selective, it's more like propaganda. If we watch that, it's very depressing, and they're telling us kind of already